Welcome to the Local
724 podcast.
in 3, 2, 1.
Dr. Jacob DiCesare, how are you, sir?
Good.
That's awesome. I'm glad to have you in here to talk about your practice. That's very cool. You went off on your own here recently.
I did. Yeah. Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, absolutely. What I wanted to do is just kind of start with maybe, where you started, how you got started, like, where'd you grow up, things like that. Let's talk about the way back then.
Sure. I'll go back even before that because
Okay.
I always think about this. If my grandfather from Italy hadn't thought about coming here to the United States, none of us would be here.
Yeah, true.
So, my grandfather was from Abruzzi, Pescara, and he had a cousin that came over and said, you should move here and work for Westinghouse. So
cool.
he got on a boat, came through Ellis Island, and came to Trafford, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And then had 10 kids, and my dad was the seventh of the 10. And and that's how we ended up here in the Western Pennsylvania area. My mother's from Lawrenceville.
That's
and
cool.
yeah. And of course I'm your usual mutt, right?
How many kids did your parents have?
There was 3 of us.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm the youngest. Yeah,
Very
we grew up in Penn Township, right between Kistler's and Bushy Run.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Had a lot
Awesome.
of property growing up, did a lot of camping and hunting
fun.
and things like that. And yeah.
That's good. Let's talk about your dad for a second.
Okay.
Pat DiCesare.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what do you know?
Well, DiCesare Igler. That's what I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be something. Music was a huge influence in your life. I have to assume.
Probably not as much as you would think.
Oh yeah.
It's not like I was pursuing a career in music or anything like that. As a matter of fact, my dad would always say to kind of stay away from that.
Okay. It's something that he knew. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that, back then, what people forget is that the people that had the money, let's say, were people who were, over 30, like the never trust anyone over 30 thing that was going on in the 60s, right? So, at that time, big business like, Pepsi Cola or the, whoever, the Steelers or whatever, would never be involved with a rock band because they just didn't understand how those people thought because they were kids.
Right.
So you had to have someone, like my dad, who the Civic Arena could say, hey, Alice Cooper's coming here. Can you make sure he doesn't tear the place down or the devil doesn't show up or whatever people were afraid of? You forget about that stuff too.
Right. Yeah.
People thought that the devil was showing up or something. You know what I mean? So that's where he fit in. But I think he had the foresight to know that over time, that the other big businesses were going to start to get into this. And that's essentially what happened, by 2000, Clear Channel decided they were going to start buying up all these local promoters and do it themselves.
Yeah.
So he always kind of encouraged us to do something else because he saw that this was going to come to an end. Unless you want to work for Clear Channel, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Which is okay, but,
Yeah, I'm sure, there's all those things that you always, kind of look back and you think, this person, why isn't this working now? And it's because, that person did it at the right time. Everything, the stars aligned. That's how that always works. And, I mean, I think that's with anything. Think about the stock market, things like that. You know what I mean? But, yeah, I think it's really neat. So your dad was very instrumental in bringing the Beatles to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that was the, what do we have, the 56th anniversary just the other day. And actually, that's Pat DiCesare Day. Is September 14th
Yeah.
is Pat DiCesare Day in the state of Pennsylvania as per, I think the governor, not the one before this one.
Okay.
What was his name? The Republican guy.
Yeah, I can't even think of it.
And in the city of Pittsburgh as well. So, and that's because it's the anniversary of the Beatles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a neat thing. Yeah, I mean, just growing up, I guess, in an atmosphere where, your dad was kind of, very famous people were very accessible, to him and stuff like that. I think that would be really neat, especially back then, because I mean, like, that's the style of music that like I'm really into and
Yeah, me
things.
too.
And yeah, so it's just like, hey, Dad, can you score me tickets for XYZ? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, our name was strangely kind of a brand name here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was. I still get that, all the time. People will say, you related to the concert guy. You know. So it was, and then of course, he had, the Stanley Theater was a movie theater, so he bought it and brought acts there, and that became the number one theater in the country for years.
That's so cool.
And then the Benetton bought it.
Yep.
But that was the place. I mean, think about it. Like Bruce Springsteen came there.
Yeah.
Queen was there. I mean, Kiss.
That's wild.
Imagine being in a 2,800 seat theater, and watching Bruce Springsteen in like 1978.
Yeah. It's mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. So with your dad telling you to, pursue something else, don't, this bubble's going to pop eventually. What made you go into medicine?
Yeah, so, when I was younger, I was kind of interested in health and fitness. And I had always gone to a chiropractor kind of, growing up, and I kind of was into trying to fix my body myself kind of thing, And I went to Greensburg Central Catholic, and then I went off to school in Southern California for undergrad. And I kind of wanted to get into like alternative medicine.
Mm-hmm.
But, you don't really do any medicine when you're not in medical school, or some kind of, and I ended up getting a master's degree in psychology at Duquesne.
Oh, okay.
And I was going to get a PhD. And I thought, if I'm going to put all this time in, I should go to medical school. And specifically, I went to an osteopathic medical school. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what the difference is between an osteopathic.
I am not.
Good. Good.
More information.
Because we have one here.
Yeah.
Right? Seton Hill has LECOM, right? So
right.
Do you know what that means when they say the Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine? I
don't. But I know what LECOM is.
Or have you ever seen DO after a name instead of MD?
No, I don't think I have.
Interesting. There's a lot of DOs in this area.
Huh.
So I'm going to have to drop some knowledge on you here.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So
I love to know all kinds of things.
Yeah. So going back into history, here in the United States was very unique in the sense that there were these medical sects, not SEX, SECTS,
right? Yeah.
Right. That existed that all felt that they had kind of like the answer to, how to cure people. Mm-hmm. Like, it might be like magnetism, like magnets.
Okay.
It might be like homeopathy. It might be the Christian healers.
Okay.
There was chiropractic, osteopathic. MD is called allopathic. Okay.
Okay.
So this guy A.T. Still was kind of the founder of this osteopathic medicine, and what he felt is that if you align the body properly, that you could put it in a position where you could best respond to disease. Okay.
Okay.
So it was kind of like chiropractic, okay? And the government came along with like the FDA, and they had this thing called the Flexner Report where they limited the amount of medical schools in the country. So they took it down from like 500 to like 100. Essentially, they got rid of everybody except for a bunch of allopathic schools and like 5 osteopathic schools. So those became like the only way to get become a fully licensed physician.
Okay.
So everyone thinks that your physicians are all MDs, but there's actually DOs as well. And the difference is that we're trained to do osteopathic manipulation. So we do body work, like kind of like a chiropractor would do, or a physical therapist. And where that benefits someone like me is I do all musculoskeletal work. Okay. Mm-hmm. So while I don't necessarily, crack backs all the time, because we have lots of chiropractors around who do things like that, I use my hands for everything. So, the osteopathic training makes you more aware. It's like another sense for what is abnormal. And it also is good if you're doing injections, let's say, to be able to tell, kind of in your mind, be able to see in a 3D kind of way where this injection is going to go.
Okay.
So I see it a lot because I teach people nationally and internationally how to do these regenerative injections that I think is on your list. And you can see that some people just don't have that concept. They just can't see it in their mind, to be able to make that happen. And the osteopathic training helps you to be able to conceptualize that.
That's interesting. What kind of injections are we talking into joints and things to help with, movement and things?
So there's several different targets. The most common is into a joint space, but then there's also injections into ligaments. Ligaments connect bone to bone.
Oh, okay.
Tendons connect muscle to bone. You can inject around nerves, but not into them. I mean, you can, but we don't do that too frequently.
Yeah. Might feel that one.
Yeah. So, this, for example, the most common thing is people with knee pain, right? And they get a steroid injection into their knee, so that's a type of injection. But I don't just use steroids. I do regenerative injections as well.
Okay.
Things that can stimulate ligamentous tissue, tendinous tissue, and can actually regenerate tissue and make it stronger.
Wow. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely interesting. So what, the injections and things like that, that's got to be tough on people, that are already feeling pain and things like that. But you're known around here as the painless injector.
Well, the gentle injector.
The gentle injector.
Yeah, nothing's painless, you know. No, I think that's part of the osteopathic training. You can kind of sense when you're going at tissue speed, as we say, and that feels more comfortable to patients. You have kind of an awareness, and I get that all the time where people will say, "Oh, it used to hurt so much, and yours don't really hurt that much."
Wasn't that bad, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So
that's cool.
It's a lot of experience and a lot of, like I said, being able to feel what feels normal or abnormal.
Yeah.
You know?
So after college, after you graduated and things, what was your career path then?
Yeah. So, like I said, I went and got a master's degree in psychology, and then I ended up. I was thinking about going to the osteopathic school in Southern California, but LECOM was one of the first schools in the country to have problem-based learning, and now that's become kind of standard.
Okay.
You know what problem-based learning is?
I don't.
Yeah, as opposed to a lecture, what you did is you would get like a case and you would try to solve the case essentially by using your textbook. So you would come in and you'd prepare for it.
More of a hands-on approach.
Yeah, I mean, it was better for me because I was a liberal arts student.
Okay.
So coming in and doing bubble tests was kind of hard, for me because I wasn't used to thinking that way. So LECOM in Erie, there was only one LECOM back then. It was, there was snow covered 7 or 8 months out of the year, but it was great for me.
Right.
I
went to Edinburgh.
That's right.
I was there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You were in the snow belt.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That place was crazy. A lot of people don't understand the stories when I tell them, it could be nice like it is out there today. Yeah. And tomorrow we could have 4 feet of snow.
Right.
It's insane.
Yeah. So, so from there I went to UPMC St. Margaret, and I did a residency in medicine, and then I did a fellowship with Allegheny General in sports medicine. Okay. And then I was going to stay there, and they wanted to hire me, But I was living in Shadyside at the time, and I just happened to, I called a generic number out here, at Excella. I wasn't even really sure what Excella was. Yeah. And I just left a message and said, hey, I'm from Greensburg, and I just got out of this program. Are you looking to hire anybody? And I didn't really think much of it. And a couple of days later, Rena Guerreri called me back, who I don't think works there anymore. And she said, I think we are looking at hiring someone like you. We'd be interested in that. So she set up an interview with the orthopedic group, and and like that was it, you know.
That's all.
So yeah,
That's really cool.
Kind of like really, just like, I just figured I'd call and leave a message. I wasn't sure if I'd hear back or, I didn't know how to go about it. I never had a headhunter or anything like that.
Yeah. Stars aligned.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I was there for 10 years. And I still have a great relationship with that group, with everybody over there, like, Chris Bellasini and Jennifer Erdos and Ralph Passarelli and Arnie Weigel and Ryan Flanagan, all of our orthopedic surgeons over there. And, what my role is, I'm non-surgical. My role is, most people don't require surgery. Mm-hmm. So, some people are kind of like in between. They don't need surgery, but they need something. And usually it's some type of injection, that I do. But I also evaluate people, obviously, for, if they have musculoskeletal problems and try to help them as much as I can.
Yeah. That's super interesting. So you stayed there for 10 years. Mm-hmm. When did you decide to make the leap into, your own practice?
So my first day of practice on my own was June 1st.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
The day before my birthday.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So I wasn't sure how that would go, but it kind of reminded, it's like, you always hear, you never know how much you appreciated someone until they're gone,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When I was gone from there, I started to, I started realizing how much I kind of meant to a lot of these other doctors and patients and things, and people really stepped up to kind of help me, because I was going into my own practice and I wasn't sure how it was going to go.
Yeah.
But, it kind of felt like, do you like old movies?
I do.
Yeah. I'm thinking about what's the Christmas one with Jimmy Stewart?
Is it Miracle on 34th?
No. Come on, I'm blanking on it.
Me too, apparently. The Jimmy Stewart Christmas movie. I'm going to have to Google it, but yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The scene in It's a Wonderful Life at the end where everybody comes in.
Yes.
And like they bring the money and everyone from the community comes in. That's kind of like what I felt like, is that people came in and it was very uplifting and as opposed to me going out to a different area or moving to Florida or something like that, I felt inclined to stay here and to do something on my own, and people jumped in to make sure that it was a success, from the community, the patients, the other physicians,
Yeah, it's really awesome. I mean, like to get, solid support from, your local area and things like that. And the people that, you've meant so much to and vice versa it's, I don't know. You can't even describe it,
Yeah, it's a unique thing, I think, to this area. These people are just like that here. Mm-hmm. They're loyal.
I can agree. I mean, whenever I decided, I was the video director at American Eagle corporate for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And I decided to go off on my own and start, my video production company. And it just like, it was kind of the same thing. Like I was unsure. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, like I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know if it was going to, keep me afloat. So I was just like, and I had friends in American Eagle and things and outside of who were just like, give you any kind of support that they could, referring you to people or having people come in to see you. It's great, just a nice little, pseudo safety net almost, for a little while until you get on your own feet, and then it's, time for you to shine.
Yeah. I mean, the group that I worked with has been great, fantastic. And actually just yesterday I signed something with Excella saying that I was within their network. So although
fantastic.
I'm not owned by them, I'm not considered outside of the network at this point.
Yeah.
I actually rent from them as well. And I have 3 different locations I go to that are right next to where I used to be. one being on Pellis Road in Greensburg. The other one is the Norwin Square at Excella, the Norwin Hills Shopping Center. And then a couple days a month, I go out to Mount Pleasant to Dr. Esposito's office.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was told that people don't like to leave that area. So I came to them,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's got to be pretty unique. I mean, like, getting to go to 3 different offices and see like different groups of people all the time. And they have to be extremely thankful that, they don't have to. I mean, Mount Pleasant to Greensburg, not that big of a deal. But for people, maybe in the
people in
older
Connellsville
age
or
bracket,
that kind of thing, it's a little much.
right?
Yeah.
So, it's easier for them to get to Mount Pleasant or something than to, drive the whole way out to Greensburg. That's pretty awesome. But so, like, as far as, you studied sports medicine, you said? Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Where did you take that into fruition? Did you get to work with sports medicine at all?
Like with athletes?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at Excella, we always covered high schools and Seton Hill and that kind of thing. My team for a long time was Jeanette,
Okay.
And when I was at Allegheny, their major team was the Pirates,
Yeah.
So, it's covering the Pirates is it's kind of neat, but it's kind of like not a whole lot happens too sometimes.
Right,
you end up sitting there, you kind of sit in a room and you might be there for like 6 hours, and if it sort of was a rain delay or something like that, and you're just sitting down there. Spring training was kind of neat because it was so informal. You kind of just pull up a chair in the outfield and just sit there and watch baseball.
Kind of watch the game.
Yeah. But so I see athletes now. I just don't have any game coverage that I do. Like I said, last year, or for the last several years, I would go to all the Jeanette football games. You know, because that was one of the Excella schools.
Mm-hmm. That's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
So when when you were there and you moved into your, your own practices and things like that, I always want to ask, like, guys and girls who made the leap into like their own businesses and things, how much did you value, I guess, your time there at Allegheny?
With going into my new practice?
Yeah, like kind of, from what you left with knowledge-wise, how important was that you spent so much time there, and, how does that reflect?
Oh, you mean at Excella?
Yeah, Excella. My bad.
Yeah. Okay, I was like, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, I learned a lot from being at Excella, from being around. When you come out of fellowship, while you're prepared to do some things, you still are learning for the rest of your life.
Sure.
And the learning that you do is from the environment that people that you're around. So, for me, being in the office with Jennifer Erdos, who's years beyond me, not just a few years, even though she's the same age.
Yeah.
Chris Bellasini, he's only a little bit older than me, but had a lot of experience, and or Dan Hafner, or Ryan Flanagan, or Arnie Weigel, and being able to review cases with them and discuss things, and you learn a lot. That you wouldn't if you had just started off on your own right away. So I have that 10 years. It's almost like 10 years more of education in orthopedics. That I had.
It's really interesting. It probably, forces different perspectives, being able to collaborate with guys like that you respect, guys and girls. And, just learn. That's a big thing, I think, for people getting into, their own businesses and taking that leap. I think that, you really do appreciate where you came from a little bit more, because it's not, every day you're just going to punch a clock. That's not like what this is all about. This is about like you getting out there, doing what you love, what you're passionate about, and taking all of that experience that you had learned somewhere else and bringing it into your realm and, projecting that out to the community, in your own ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful too because as soon as I made the leap, my office staff wanted to come with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I have three ex-Excella employees.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Was that kind of scary for you that immediately you were taking on 3 other people's salaries as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, it's kind of like, you feel like you're, going back to It's a Wonderful Life. Like, you can't find the money, and you have to go back and watch this now. But, like the bank's about to fold and then suddenly the town comes in and saves you, and that's kind of what it was like,
That's awesome. That's really cool. So what's one of your, most fond achievements or crowning achievements of you being off on your own?
Wow. Since June 1st, crowning achievements. Maybe getting our 500th patient.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think about that right now. You know what I mean? Like as of now, I'm not patting myself on the back.
Sure.
I'm still trying to think of, how to grow more.
How to keep going.
Yeah.
It's good. I do think though that it's good, 500 patients, that's awesome. To sit and reflect on that and think, man, from June 1st, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something definitely worth taking a look at and giving yourself a pat on the back. I would say that's very cool. But so as far as being the traveling, between the 3 offices and things, do you get to see just tons of different folks? I mean, like different age ranges, things like that?
Yeah, not because I go to the different offices, but just because I do.
Mm-hmm.
We have the patients who are who come in with osteoarthritis. Those are more common just because that's a recurrent issue. But then we see, 11-year-olds that are baseball players or swimmers or whatever.
Okay.
As well. So we kind of see everything. But it's not because I have the 3 different offices. It's just because that's who's out there. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. All right. Well, how can people, I guess, get a hold of you? Like, are you on the social medias? Are you on Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah, we have a Facebook account that my wife pretty much runs, and DiCesare Orthopedic Medicine. And then I have a website that's going to be brand new. I thought it was going to be done by now, actually, but it hasn't been. One of these, what do they call those web people?
Developers.
Yeah, that do this for healthcare people. They're working on it for me now. But I have it. I have one.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my phone number is 724-261-4080. And that's me doing my own ad on the radio. By
there
the way,
you go.
In case you hear that on the radio.
Yeah. That's cool.
So call us, or you can reach us on Facebook, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Find the number online.
Let me ask you this though.
Mm-hmm.
COVID, when that hit, how did that change, what you do?
Yeah, we still have a lot of restrictions, right? I mean, we social distance in the waiting room. I can't social distance in the room because I'm gonna put my hands on somebody, right? To evaluate them. But we all wear masks. We rub everything down, after spray Lysol, that kind of stuff. We were taking temperatures at one point. We ask screening questions. It goes in the computer. But as far as like the business, I don't know if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I mean, you're so used to doing things one way, and then all of a sudden we have to adapt to, were you guys at all doing any kind of like telehealth to maybe, kind of figure out maybe what was wrong before you had them come in?
No, I didn't, because most of what I do requires that I have to like move something or touch something or,
in order to,
Yeah. And, people come to me because it's like, oh, I can't use my drill anymore or something, know?
Right.
So like they're going to come in no matter what, you know? So it's a little different, I think, than, you know, someone's blood pressure that they can't feel. People are
Right.
motivated by what they can feel, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jacob, thanks so much for coming in. And everybody make sure they go check him out on Facebook and Instagram and the website.
Yeah.
So,
GreensburgOrtho.com.
yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, buddy.